Good day guys, welcome back to Aussie Savvy Sense, where we talk about Australian personal finance, investing in property, shares, and of course, precious metals. And today I thought we'd talk about the Australian Threepence. Oh yes, these tiny little silver coins that once circulated our great continent. Now, this video is a part of a going series called the Australian Junk Silver Predecimal and Decimal Coins. So if you're interested in seeing all the other denominations, have a look at the link above. So without further ado, let's get into the Australian Threepence. These are tiny coins that are about 16 millimeters in diameter. So if you can see, it's actually literally the size of my largest fingernail. And of course, it only being about 16 millimeters, it only weighs about 0.141 grams, which is a really light coin. And as far as the silver content goes, well, between the years of 1910 that we see here, all the way through to 1944, they were actually made out of 92.5% silver, also known as sterling silver. So the actual silver weight in this coin would have been 0.0419 troy ounces. And if you're wondering what that was in grams, that is 1.304 grams silver. And of course, after the year of 1945, 1946 is when they decided to debase our currency. Instead of it being 92.5%, it was then debased down to 50% silver. And that happened for the threepence from the year of 1947 that we see here all the way through to 1964. Now, of course, it only being 50% silver, it only had silver weight of 0.705 grams or 0.0226 troy ounces. Imagine trying to weigh that on a kitchen scale. You probably wouldn't even get any kind of result because of how little silver it had in them. All right, now let's get into the reverse designs of the Australian Threepence. And we only ever had two standard designs. The first one would have been this one, and it obviously reigned. We actually had this design from the year of 1910 when it was first released all the way through to 1936, and it's the design of the original 1908 coat of arms. So as you can see, we have here the kangaroo on the left, we've got the emu on the right, and they're both supporting a central shield that contains the cross of St. George with its five six-pointed stars. And above the shield, of course, we have the large seven-pointed Commonwealth star resting on a crest. And down below, we have a little banner that says Advance Australia, which is our motto. And of course, the date right below that as well. And the denomination of the coin itself right on the top saying threepence. Pretty cool. Now, we had the design all the way through till 1936. That was the last time we actually saw the design that we see over here. We didn't have any threepences minted in 1937 because obviously when we had the quick succession of kings from King George the V through to King Edward the VIII, who abdicated 2 months later, and then we had, of course, King George the VI that we see over here. And that's when he came around, and of course, in 1938, we wanted to have a new design of coins, and the threepence got a little bit of a facelift. You then had the wheat stocks, and this went from 1938 all the way till the last year of its minting in 1964, which I have over here as well. Look at that. So it's got the wheat stocks, there's 3 of them, and they're tied together, or bound together, by a center curved ribbon. And in between the date of the coin, in between the word threepence, with Australia on top. And these actually were meant to represent Australia's strong agricultural industry. Pretty cool. Let's pop these back here. Now, if we're talking about the obverse of the coin, well, in 1910, we obviously had King Edward the VIII. It's such a small coin, so I'm going to have to zoom in here. So we had King Edward the VIII on the 1910 coin, which is the first year of release of any coins that we had in Australia. But of course, he passed away, and so therefore 1910 was the only year that we actually had King Edward VII. And then from the year of 1911 onwards, we then had King George V with his coronation crown, looking very regal there. And that went on from the year of 1910, from the year of 1911, all the way through to the year of 1936. As you can see here, this was the last year we actually saw the effigy of King George V. And of course, in 1937, we then had King Edward VIII, who abdicated his throne a couple of months later after coming to power, just before 1937 passed. And so therefore, we didn't actually release any coins during that year, threepence included. And therefore, in the year of 1938, we then got a new design with a new king, King George VI. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Now we had the effigy of King George VI from the year of 1938 all the way through to the year of 1952, which, if I have a look, would be this one. This is a 1952. This is obviously the 50% silver one. But yeah, that was the last time we saw King George VI on a threepence, on all our coins, that is. And of course, from the year of 1953 onwards, we then had the young head of Queen Elizabeth II. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. And she remained on that threepence coin from the year of 1953 all the way through to the last year of minting for these coins in 1964. Fun fact, the threepence was actually minted in 1964, but it was the only coin that we actually minted for that year. Every other denomination we didn't mint because they were preparing for the transition over to the decimal currency, which is the dollars and cents. And we went live with that from the 14th of February, 1966. But fascinatingly and interestingly enough, in 1964, they still minted them. How cool is that? That's why you find a lot of the 1964s in great condition because, you know, obviously it was the last year. And quite a few people kept it knowing that in 1966 we will have a new set of denominations. How cool is that? So let's get into the mint marks, which started in 1916, which would have been this one over here. So 1916, and that went all the way through to 1921. For some reason, the Melbourne Mint decided to put a little M underneath its date just to distinguish that it was made from the Melbourne Mint. I'm not entirely sure why they did that, but I'll quickly showcase it all to you here that I have. If we can slowly get them all up, one by one. So as we can see here, this one is the 1916, there's a little M mint mark over there. Same thing can be said for the 1917, as well as the 1918 over here, a little bit more worn in this one. This is the 1919, also has an M mint mark, and also the 1920. And the final year they did that was 1921. After that they stopped doing it, in which case there was no mint mark for 1920 until, well, from 1920 onwards, really. I can pop these back here. So the Melbourne Mint never did that again, but there were other mint marks in preceding years. So in 1942 and 1943, as well as 1944, they also had mint marks as well. And these I will showcase to you over here. Let's have a look. So as we can see, I don't know why I picked up in 1941, because we don't want that. So as you can see over here, there is a very, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but at the end of the ribbon over here on this side, you can see there's a little D mint mark there. And that indicates that this coin was made from the Denver Mint in the United States. Zoom that in a little bit more. Look at that. How awesome is that? And of course, in 1942, they also had another mint mark. This is the S mint mark. And that obviously indicates that it was minted from the San Francisco Mint. And I have another 1942 threepence over here as well. This one doesn't actually have a mint mark, which means it was made here in Australia. Same can be said for the 1943. There's a little S over here. So that means it's from the San Francisco Mint. And over here, this one's made from the Denver Mint with a D mint mark over there. And this one does not have a mint mark, which means it's made in Australia. Now, in 1944, it was only ever had the S mint mark. If I don't drop it, as we can see over here. Which means that in 1944, they only ever issued threepences from the San Francisco Mint. And the reason why they did that was because in the past, when the Japanese decided to start quickly invading down Southeast Asia, the United States actually sent quite a few troops over to Australia. And quite a lot of them obviously needed to buy quite a few provisions, but there wasn't enough coins to go around in Australia. Our small mints from Melbourne and the Perth Mint couldn't keep up with the demand, so we actually sent over quite a few bullions over to the United States and got them to mint coins for us. That's the reason why you find that some of our threepences, sixpences, florins and shillings actually has the S and D mint mark, indicating that they're made from the San Francisco and the Denver Mint. How cool is that? Now, the last time we actually had a mint mark would have been in 1951. And I'll showcase both of them to you here, or two 1951 coins that we have here. So for this one specifically, if we zoom in over here, we can actually see just at the curve of the ribbon down below, you see there's a little P and a little L here. And that technically is representative of Pecuna Londini, also known as money of London. Or could also stand for Pecusa Londinio, which technically means struck in London. So we actually lacked the production capacity to meet the post-war demand for circulating currency. And to solve this, we actually contracted the Royal Mint in London to produce millions of halfpennies, pennies, sixpences, and of course, threepences. And that's the reason why you have a little mint mark over here. And as you can see, this one was made in Australia. This one doesn't actually have it on the bend of the ribbon itself. How cool is that? Let's pop these back on. All right, now lastly, let us talk about numbers for these beautiful little threepences that I have, well, put my money into, that I have invested in. And before we do that, it's not just this that you see here. I've also got a little bit of excess threepence here. Quite a few of them. Let's do a little bit of a ASMR moment, hey? A handful of threepences. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful little pieces. Ooh. It's covering the one with the dates. I mean, it's covering my date run ones. Let's make sure that that doesn't happen here. Let's spread it all around. Oh. They're such a nice little size. If you have them in a bag, they're even nicer to even jangle around. Anyways, so if we talk numbers, first of all, let's start off with our 92.5% silver, which is our sterling silver. So I have about 48 of them that you see up here, and most of them is up on the top here. And 48 by 0.0419 ounces, which is how many ounces are in a single coin. I have about 2.0112 troy ounces of sterling silver that I have up here. Now, if we're talking about the 50% silver, it's 0.0227 by 40. I have about 40 of these 50% silver threepences. And that makes up about 0.908 ounces. Now, if I add them up together, That means I have about 2.9192 troy ounces of silver that you see right here. Beautiful, absolutely lovely. As of the 17th of August 2026, the spot price is currently sitting at 92 Australian dollars an ounce, which means this makes my 2.9192 ounces of Australian junk silver in this little tray here is worth about $268.56 Australian cents. How awesome is that? Now, if you're curious to know what that is in United States dollars, it's currently sitting around about 65 USD an ounce. So this worth about $189.75 that is in USD. How cool is that? So let me know, do you guys stack the Australian Threepence for its tiny, tiny silver amount of content that they have? Or do you also do a bit of a date run, a collection, like I am? And I'm very fortunate enough to say that I have all the dates of the Australian Threepence. So I'm pretty proud about that. Let me know in the comments below if you guys are a stacker or collector of these beautiful, beautiful pieces of coins. And if you live outside of Australia, let me know instead, does your country have junk silver that you guys also stack or collect? And what is the smallest denomination, the tiniest denomination of silver, junk silver that your country has that you have? So I'm kind of curious to know. Let me know in the comments below, and if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to like, and please also subscribe to my channel if you're interested in seeing more videos such as this. The next video I'll be doing is going to be primarily about the Australian 50-cent 1966 silver coin. So stay tuned for that one, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.